Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West Texas.
People are understandably frustrated that their trash isn't getting picked up as often as it normally would.
The city of Odessa is facing backlash after announcing on Facebook that trash pickup could be delayed. Coming up in just a few minutes, we take an in-depth look at why that is. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks for streaming with us on the CBS7 YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We begin tonight with a silver alert out of Fort Stockton. This is Jose Talamantes out of Fort Stockton. He is a 68-year-old Hispanic man and was last seen at 7:30 this morning walking at 387 Interstate 10 there in Fort Stockton. He was wearing a tan jacket, blue and white shirt, green pants, and brown boots. Law enforcement officials believe this senior citizen's disappearance poses a threat to their own health and safety. If you know where Talamantes is or have seen him, you're asked to contact the Fort Stockton Police Department. Now a story in depth. The city of Odessa is asking for patience as it sorts out issues with trash pickup. Around the holidays, trash schedules change and those holiday parties and gifts produce way more waste than normal. At the same time, the city of Odessa's garbage truck fleet is down by half. Now, if all trucks were operational, the city would have a fleet of 28 trucks. Instead, they're running on 14, and most trash pickups have been dropped from twice a week to once a week. City Manager John Beckmeyer says that's due to a few issues. He says a previous council decision expanded the lifespan of those waste trucks from 4 to 6 years to 7 to 9. That's put an extra strain on that led to more breakdowns and left the city playing catch up. Plus, the city's dealing with supply chain issues for parts and repairs. 8 new trucks, though, are on the way.
We expect them to come in over the next quarter. And then I believe he said it would be 7 to 10 days that as they come in, 7 to 10 days that they can get them in service. Now, what we hope is during that time, we also get some of the spare parts for the ones that are broken down so that we have more than what's just coming in.
In the meantime, the city has placed extra bins in various places to deal with holiday overflow. A map of those can be found on the city's website. Though the frequency of pickups have changed, residents will not see a change in their bill. Well, the American dream has never felt more real for Maricela Castro, who came to this country for a better life. She came here earning around $200 a week washing dishes to now owning her own business that will help her inspire others to start their own. At Glam Beauty Shop, they provide services for hair, nails, eyebrows, dyeing hair, and so much more. When Castro got to West Texas, there were plenty of academies to get certified. Only problem was that she didn't speak very much English, so it cost her to learn enough English to pass the classes. Now she wants to open an academy to help those that don't speak English.
I couldn't do it because I don't speak English, or at least fluent English. And there's many people that are coming to this country and they want opportunities to progress and get ahead. But it's difficult because of the language barrier.
Though this academy helps people who don't speak English, Castro says that there are teachers that offer courses in the language. Time now for a check of your CBS7 First Alert forecast. Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller standing by in the First Alert Weather Center. Tom, good evening.
Well, after a freezing start this morning, temperatures rebounded a little bit this afternoon, but really stayed into the lower to mid 50s, running a little bit below where they should be this time of the year on those afternoon highs. It was a little milder down along the Rio Grande where we saw temperatures into the 60s this afternoon, but we're going to see repeat performances of this. It looks like to end this last week of 2023. So again, just some high clouds hanging around in the forecast with chilly temperatures on the way. Now, we are going to see a bit of a warm up into the weekend, but it does look like a cold front coming up on New Year's Eve is going to bring a little bit of winter chill back to our forecast coming up for next week. And it looks like this is the start of a trend as we move in towards the new year. 2024 is we're going to see chillier conditions in our forecast coming up here over the next couple of weeks. So just a reminder that the winter season is still with us here across West Texas.
Tom, thank you very much. Let's talk oil and gas now, where gasoline prices will drop in 2024 for the second year in a row, according to projections from Gas Buddy. The industry tracker predicts Americans will spend $32 billion less at the pump next year. It projects an average per gallon price of $3.38 in the upcoming election year. That would be 13 cents less than this year and a big drop from 2022's average per gallon of $3.95. The forecast would be good news for consumers who are highly sensitive to swings in the cost of living, especially at the gas pump. A couple of years ago, gasoline prices skyrocketed to record highs as Russia's invasion of Ukraine set off global shockwaves.
My New Year's resolution is to lose weight, and because I have my 21st birthday coming up, so that's going to keep me motivated.
Spending more time with my daughter because, she's growing up, getting older, and we spend a lot of time at work, 100 hours a week, 80 to 100 hours. So it's kind of hard to find it. So, the goal is to get with her.
We are 3 days away from ringing in the new year, and as expected, lots of people are thinking of their New Year's resolutions. But how do you stay committed to those goals? Well, CBS7 spoke with a doctor at Midland Memorial Hospital to learn more about reaching those goals. On average, there are two things that people usually struggle with most: improving fitness and quitting nicotine. But it can be a struggle to stay motivated throughout the year.
When you have a reason, make sure maybe you can write it on a sticky note, post it on your mirror or your refrigerator to remind you the need to do it. That helps in a lot of patients. The second thing, again, you want to set a quit date.
Most people usually break their New Year resolutions in 3 or 4 months. Don't do that. Well, if being more active is a resolution for next year, remember it's a year-long thing. Like I was saying, exercise is very important to your health, even when the temperature dips. In today's Health Minute, Manny Gaither has cold weather workout tips.
Your 2024 health goals shouldn't take a break when it's cold outside.
Aside from the physical health benefits, outdoor exercise, especially in the winter, can help with things like reducing stress, anxiety, and depression, which we often see higher levels of during the winter months.
Sports medicine Dr. Michael Tiso with Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center says exercising 12 months a year should be a part of your lifestyle, not a burden. To safely exercise in the cold, Tiso says to dress based on the temperature and your activity, but wearing layers is important.
They'd be starting with a synthetic base layer, a middle fleece, and an outer insulated jacket, or a combination of a puffy warmth coat and an outer shell. The shell helps protect against rain and wind, and the inner puffy part of the jacket helps keep the warmth in.
Stay away from clothes made with cotton. Tiso says that material tends to trap moisture close to the skin. If it's really cold outside, he says to keep extremities like fingers, which are more vulnerable to frostbite, covered. And before you exercise, do a short 5 to 10 minute warm-up to get blood flowing to muscles.
Afterwards, after you're done exercising, a short cool down can help, and then sometimes stretching after exercise may be more effective than doing it before.
And watch out for sun exposure. You can still get sunburned in the winter, especially if it reflects off of snow. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Since it gets darker earlier in the winter months, make sure you wear reflective clothing or bring a flashlight so that you'll be visible to drivers who pass by. Well, for some saying goodbye to 2023, it's happening a few days before New Year's Eve celebrations at the 17th annual Good Riddance Day event in New York's Times Square. People bid an early farewell to all sorts of things from this past year.
So we said saying goodbye to people-pleasing, self-doubt, and any anxiety whatsoever.
I want to get rid of all the bad stuff and just have a good, happy New Year.
My sister was pregnant with her 4th child, and in her 7th month of pregnancy was diagnosed with lymphoma. So thankfully she overcame that battle, but we want to leave that in 2023 and say good riddance to cancer for her and for everybody else.
A magician was also on hand to help make people's least favorite things about 2023 go up in flames, literally, in keeping with a Latin American tradition that organizers say inspired Good Riddance Day. And we are only, like I said, a week away from the 2024 Sandhill Stock Show and Rodeo as well. It'll be held at the Ector County Coliseum grounds in Odessa. Throughout the event, there are many family-friendly activities to do and watch. Of course, the rodeo is one of the main attractions. I was able to speak with the vice president of the rodeo in our digital news desk. He explained that many riders from across the country are making their way to Odessa for this event. The competition will be a spectacle.
That's the best of the best out there. It's the Super Bowl of rodeo, so most of them will be here. There's a few of them healing up, might not make it, might. We don't know for sure, but we'll have the majority of those guys, and then just, numerous other people that are trying to get their year kicked off and get the rodeo started and make it to the next one. Hopefully, back to the NFR next year.
You'll also see rodeo royalty too.
You could say that I've worked my way up into the Sandhills title. I am so excited to do such a good job for the Sandhills Rodeo. It is such a historic rodeo, and they've had such good representation in the past that I want to make sure to carry on that amazing tradition.
For more information, go to the website right there, sandhillsssr.com. Speaking of websites, you're now looking live at today's top headlines shown here in real time with real viewers on CBS7.com. You can see all of them on our website or our news app. And still ahead, the race for 2024 has had some recent controversy. We'll take a look at the latest developments next at 9. In the race for 2024, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley is under fire for comments she made about the Civil War in a New Hampshire town hall. Plus, Maine's top election official removed former President Donald Trump from the state's 2024 GOP primary ballot Thursday, basing the decision on the 14th Amendment's insurrectionist ban. Emily Schmidt has more details on the campaign trail developments.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
At a New Hampshire town hall more than 158 years after the Civil War ended, GOP presidential candidate Nikki Haley saw the conflict become today's news.
I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run.
Her answer, which continued for about a minute, did not satisfy the voter.
2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
Haley's omission drew quick criticism on social media and on the campaign trail.
Not that difficult to identify and acknowledge the role slavery played in the Civil War.
Of course the Civil War was about slavery.
Thursday, Haley worked to clarify her answer.
But it was also more than that. It was about the freedoms of every individual. It was about the role of government.
This isn't the storyline Haley wanted. December polls show her gaining on former President Donald Trump in New Hampshire, though Trump still has commanding leads both there and in Iowa. His challenges remain in the courts. Thursday, Colorado's Republican Party asked the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn the state's high court ruling removing Trump from the state ballot for his actions following the 2020 election.
It's up to the voters to decide on this issue, especially when there is no charge or conviction.
One more example of the past playing into today's politics. Emily Schmidt, CBS7 First Alert News.
In other campaign news, Republican presidential candidate Chris Christie is running a new ad in New Hampshire this week, pushing back on calls to drop out of the race to help other candidates build support against Donald Trump. In the ad, Christie says he's the only one who will call the former president a liar. And in detail provided to CNN, his campaign's investing 7 figures in ad buys to spread the message. And coming up in just a few minutes on CBS 7 News at 9, we are taking a look at some of the top political stories from across the nation that happened in 2023.
Well, it looks like a quiet weather pattern for the rest of the year. The new year, though, a little bit different story we're going to talk about coming up next.
Now, from the CBS 7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, we are looking at, again, pretty quiet weather out there. We had an addition of a few high clouds across portions of far west Texas, the Trans-Pecos into the mountain areas. But for the most part, though, that big storm system that's really been affecting our weather has really pushed our flow in the upper levels out of the north, and that's tapped some colder Canadian air across the area. Now, the main polar jet, though, is still riding right along the Texas, I should say, the U.S. Canadian border, and it looks like that is where the cold air is going to stay for the most part. But as this area of low pressure moves out into the north and northeast, it's going to be replaced by a little bit of a ridge here, so that's going to make for a quiet weekend. Temperatures warming up just a little bit, but it's going to be short-lived. We've seen a very progressive weather pattern, meaning that it's fast moving, so we're going to see changes on the heels of that, and we're going to see another strong front roll in just in time for the end of the year on the very last day of New Year's Eve into the start of 2024. We're going to see some cold air start to roll down. Now, we're really scraped out on the moisture. Again, a few showers earlier today along the Red River has really been about it. And we saw the addition of some high clouds across portions of West Texas, but for the most part, though, cut off from Gulf moisture for the most part, as temperatures again across the state today pretty cool right on the fringes here from Amarillo down towards the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We were seeing temperatures below normal with 50s across portions of West Texas, but a little milder down across southern Texas and southeast Texas too. West Texas Futurecast showing you pretty quiet conditions overnight tonight in towards your Friday, and it looks like that's going to continue into Saturday. So again, an occasional high cloud moving across into the weekend and into the early part of next week is really going to be about it across the area. So for the rest of tonight, again, another frigid one on the way, as we'll see those temperatures slide down into the upper 20s. Looks like tomorrow, though, temperatures maybe a couple of degrees milder into the mid to upper 50s, but 60s for Fort Stockton and along the Rio Grande under generally sunny skies in our forecast. And your CBS 7 First Alert exclusive 10-day forecast. Another front late New Year's Eve will bring chilly conditions next week and a few more clouds to the forecast too, but really any rain chances look scant. It just looks a little chilly to start the new year.
And next on CBS 7 News at 9, we are taking a look at some of the top political stories from across the nation that happened in 2023. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Well, for much of 2023, it was spent focused on two big stories: the race for the Speaker of the House and legal action against former President Donald Trump. CBS's Natalie Bryant is in Washington with a look back at the political drama that played out throughout 2023.
The year in politics started with major conflict on Capitol Hill. Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy of California won the Speaker's gavel after a 15-ballot saga, unprecedented in modern times. But 9 months later, a small group of Republican hardliners led the charge to oust him. They were upset McCarthy reached across the aisle and worked with Democrats to avoid a government shutdown.
If the Democrats want to own Kevin McCarthy, they can have it.
It took 3 weeks and multiple candidates amid GOP infighting to finally elect a new House Speaker. Republican Mike Johnson of Louisiana.
Or the Honorable Mike Johnson of the state of Louisiana, having received a majority of the votes cast, is duly elected Speaker of the House of Representatives.
Just this month, McCarthy announced he's resigning and will leave Congress at the end of this year.
If you can't beat him, you persecute him or you prosecute him.
Former President Donald Trump remained in the headlines throughout 2023.
President Trump.
Charged in 4 different criminal cases, state cases in Georgia and New York, as well as 2 federal cases.
We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
Special counsel Jack Smith has filed charges over Trump's handling of classified documents and his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
Applying those laws, collecting facts, that's what determines the outcome of of an investigation.
Despite mounting legal troubles, Trump remains the far and away frontrunner for the Republican nomination, according to national polls.
On Monday, January 15th, we're going to win the Iowa caucuses. We're going to crush crooked Joe Biden next November.
President Joe Biden launched his re-election campaign in April.
Let's finish this job. I know we can.
President Biden's son Hunter faced the first ever indictment of a sitting president's child, facing tax and federal firearms charges after a plea deal unraveled in a Delaware courtroom.
Senator, did you betray your country?
An indictment against New Jersey Senator Robert Menendez alleges he accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes, including bars of gold, to benefit the Egyptian government.
In light of the expulsion of the gentleman from New York, Mr. Santos, the whole number of the House is now 434.
The U.S. House voted to expel New York Congressman George Santos, who faces charges of fraud for allegedly stealing people's identities and making charges on the credit cards of his own donors.
Do you have anything to say to your constituents, George Santos?
At the Supreme Court, Justice Clarence Thomas faced ethics questions of his own after accepting expensive undisclosed gifts and travel from wealthy friends. In a historic ruling this year, the conservative majority dealt a major blow to affirmative action, ruling against the use of race in college admissions. But voting rights advocates received a victory when the high court ruled against Alabama congressional maps that diluted the power of minority voters. The ruling is expected to have implications in 2024's elections. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
One of the last votes the U.S. House took before leaving for the holiday break was to vote to authorize an impeachment inquiry into President Biden, despite a year-long investigation turning up no evidence, high crimes, or misdemeanors. And still ahead, a zoo in Arizona received the gift of life on Christmas Day after an endangered zebra was born in Tucson. The Christmas miracle when we return. Before we go, look at this. An Arizona zoo got a special Christmas gift. A baby Grevy zebra was born. Look at the stripes, so cute. Luckily, the mama, Anna, and her foal are doing so well. These are an endangered species of zebra, but luckily the stock lives on. Thanks so much for joining us here at 9. We'll see you over on CBS7 News at 10. Make it a great night.